When you look at the crowds today, you have maybe 5,000–6,000 people here. On the streets yesterday, 1 million people, 1 million Iranians in the street for the Ayatollah Khomeini. Does that not give you concern? Does that not make you afraid?
Because they are afraid, yeah, that's right. And most of the people don't say anything because they are afraid. And they are in silence, you know, they don't say anything.
Is this the silent majority of Iran out here now?
Yes, that's right.
Do you want the Shah to return?
Yes, Shah, return to the country.
What about you, Shah? Why do you want the Shah? Why does she want the Shah?
ما شاه میخوایم ما بیچاره این
شادی کشتنش حلاله کجای قرآن گفته
"47 years we've been bleeding in the dark, under the shadow of the Islamic regime, with a stone-cold heart. They silenced our voices, they turned off our light. 58 days without internet, but we still fought the night. Our children took the streets, they raised their empty hands, and the world looked away. Do you understand? Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? 42,000 souls are gone, killed in 2 days by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have that's all it took. Mothers and fathers and sons, did you even look? We stand with Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, our hope and voice. Millions behind him marching, he is our only choice. He only fights for freedom, democracy and human rights. But you mock him in your chambers while he fights for our lives, to pull us out of this darkness, this century-long night, while you sign deals with our killers and call it diplomatic right. Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? They hang 60-40 souls one by one, hanged within 4 months by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have you just given up? Do you know Europe? Do you feel anything at all? Or did something break inside you while Iran answered the call? Do you know Europe? What happened to you, Europe? What made you so cold? What turned your heart to stone while our story went untold? Is oil worth more than blood? Is silence worth the shame? Because while you negotiate with murderers, we are dying, calling your name. Do you know Europe? Do you know what's been done? Do you know Europe? 42,000 souls are gone, killed in 2 days by a regime drenched in blood. Do you know Europe? Or have you just given up? Do you know Europe? We are still here, we are still strong. Do you know Europe? How much longer? How much longer? How long? Do you know Europe?
To all of our friends around the world, under the yoke of the Islamic Republic, Iran is identified in your minds with terrorism, extremism, and poverty. The real Iran is a different Iran, a beautiful, peace-loving, and flourishing Iran. It is the Iran that existed before the Islamic Republic, and it is the Iran that will rise again from its ashes the day the Islamic Republic falls. So let me be clear about how a free Iran will act towards its neighbors and the world after the fall of this regime. In security and foreign policy, Iran's nuclear military program will end. Support for terrorist groups will cease immediately. A free Iran will work with regional and global partners to confront terrorism, organized crime, drug trafficking, and extremist Islamism. Iran will act as a friend and a stabilizing force in the region, and it will be a responsible partner in global security. In diplomacy, relations with the United States will be normalized, and our friendship with America and her people will be restored. The State of Israel will be recognized immediately. We will pursue the expansion of the Abraham Accords into the Cyrus Accords, bringing together a free Iran, Israel, and the Arab world. A new chapter will begin, grounded in mutual recognition, sovereignty, and national interest. In energy, Iran holds some of the largest oil and gas reserves in the world. A free Iran will become a reliable energy supplier to the free world. Policymaking will be transparent. Iran's actions will be responsible. Prices will be predictable. In transparency and governance, Iran will adopt and enforce international standards. Money laundering will be confronted. Organized corruption will be dismantled. Public institutions will answer to the people. In the economy, Iran is one of the world's last great untapped markets. Our population is educated, modern, with a diaspora that connects it to the four corners of the world. A democratic Iran will open its economy to trade, investment, and innovation, and Iran will seek to invest in the world. Opportunity will replace isolation. This is not an abstract vision. It is a practical one, grounded in national interest, stability, and cooperation. To achieve this, now is the time to stand with the Iranian people. The fall of the Islamic Republic and the establishment of a secular, democratic government in Iran will not only restore dignity to my people, it will benefit the region and the world. A free Iran will be a force for peace, for prosperity, and for partnership.
وقتی واسه غم نی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته ایم قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه وقتی واسه غم نی گرچه قصه هامون کم نیست همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه. روبروم یه واژه، یه هدف به نام انتقامه، پشت سرم دعای مادر و تو دستم تفنگ بابامه. رو زبونم اسم شاه، بگین عشق بی انتهاست، هر جا اسم ایران اومد اونجا صدای بچه رضاست. فردا می نویسن تو کتاب قصه دیمار، بگو با تیر جنگی کشتن بچه های بیگناه رو. بگو از بخت مادرها چیر زنا و دخترامون، بگو تنها شهید شدیم تا تنها نمونه شامون. وقتی واسه غم نی گرچه قصه آمون کم نیست، همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست. روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما، سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه. وقتی واسه غم نی گرچه قصه آمون کم نیست، همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست. روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما، سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه. وقتی واسه غم نی گرچه قصه آمون کم نیست، همه خسته این قبولم ما فرصتی واسه ماتم نیست. روشن میشه فردا خورشید سرزمین ما، سرم باز و سینه سپر بلند میگم جاوید شاه.
سلام من به تو یار قدیمی، منم همون هوادار قدیم.
سید سلام، چطوری مرد کلی کتلت شدین دایی بدون مدرک؟ سلام بسیجی قهرمان رفتی پیش توسی با پنیر و یه نون سنگک. سلام به محفل قرآنیتون، سلام به مدیرای بحرانیتون، سلام به حاجی اکبر و طوله هاش و خارج و رفقای ارگانیتون، سلام به دزدای پول ملت که تش میفتین توی تور ملت. سلام به همه شما کرکسایی که دارین نونتون رو میزنین تو خون ملت، ساکتش زیر دست و پاک و تک بخورین حالا هی به یه بادکنک بدوین. سلام آخر تو زندان باشه وقتی قرار به این آب خنک بخورین. مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا، ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا. مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا، ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا. اینو بگذاریم به خاک میرسیم، تجزیه طلبی که به خاک بیرسیم. ایران مردمش وطن پرستن، از کرد تا بلوچ بری به فاک میرسی. توف به هر چی مرسی است، توف به هر کی در پی تجزیه است، توف به لوی و همونی که شیفته ی گل ملیگرا تو وطن خدا نستی هست. سر کردستان همه برپا شدن، بلوچستان فدای مهسا شدن. شم واحد که شیر و خورشید ما بقی جعلی ها تنها شدن. شادی باشه واسه همه در میهن، کور بشه چه شهرچی اهریمن. رخه رو بگی تا اون 6 کلاس سواد و خبرگان و مجد سری ترجیحن. شبهای عروس و دامادی باشه برن سلامتی نوش کنن آبادی باشه. مقصد کجاست؟ میدون شهیاده به سمت اتوبان آزادی باشه. سلام به نسل ندید پدیدا، نبودیم ندیدیم قدیمتی ما. شاه بود تو شادی کل میزدین، حالا شاه بر میگرده پیک میزنین. مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا، ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا. مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا، ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا. مرگ بر ملا متولی ننگ در دنیا، ننگ بر دوتا مجاهد چپی بعد از ملا.
فاهنگ به این خوشگلی با نایده بود، اسم این عشقانه رو توش بیاریم ولی خب لازم بود دیگه. فکر کنم با نایده
Flying over the sea,
Let's go. میخوام بگم از دلم، از عشق به این میهنم، به امید روز شکست دشمن شاه برمیگرده به وطن. برگشتن پهلوی، وحشت هر اجنبی، بلند بگو همشهری شاه رضا پهلوی. نظام رسیده پرتگاه، بلند بگو جاوید شاه. برگشت شاه به میهن، دوای درد وطن. این آخرین نبرده، پهلوی برمیگرده. داره میاد پهلوی، زجه بزن سید علی. راه نجات وطن، پهلوی هموطن. ایران میشه گلستان، شاه که بیاد به ایران. ایران که شاه نداره، حساب کتاب نداره. آخون باید گم بشه، توپ تانک فشفشه. گم شو بیرون اجنبی، داره میاد پهلوی. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن ها. ما شاه میخوایم نه ملا، بذار بشنوه دنیا. ایرانی داد بزن، شاه تو فریاد بزن. برگشتن پهلوی، وحشت هر اجنبی. بلند بگو هموطن، شاه رضا پهلوی. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. بلند بگو جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. فریاد بزن جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه. بلند بگو جاوید شاه، شعار هر وطن خواه.
Look at us here today. We see so many flags representing so many nations. We know we are not alone, and we thank you for being with us. For all people around the world who stand today in unity with the Iranian people, this is not just because it's good for us, and you do it out of compassion and care for our rights to liberty and justice and equality and human rights. But understand that it is in your best interest too, to have, unlike this regime that has been propagating terror and radicalism, we the people of Iran are peacemakers and not warmongers. We like to be friends, especially with the free world. We'd like to be able to have the best neighborly relationship with the people of our area and the region, with the Arab countries, with Israel, and all our other neighbors. We are fighting for justice, we're fighting for human rights, we are fighting for liberty, we're fighting to put an end to all sorts of discrimination. Because as an Iranian, I stand here to tell you that I've dedicated 47 years of my life because I think that my country deserves far better than what we have right now. To now understand that their best remedy is to support the people of Iran, because ultimately a free Iran will be your best partner, not just to bring stability and peace, but it will be in your best economic interest and opportunities. Together we can prosper again, and the world will be so different once the Iranian people are free. I am here to guarantee a transition to secular democratic future. I am committed to be that leader of transition for you, so we can one day have the final opportunity to decide the fate of our country through a democratic, transparent process, through the ballot box and free elections. And let's make sure that this time, especially the free nations of this world and their governments, stand on the right side of history.
Discuss with open source intelligence analyst Ryan Macbeth and Iranian-born human rights activist Goldie Ghamari. Now, Vice President Vance said, quote, violence will be met with violence. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. Ryan, did the U.S. make the right move? Are you worried about what happens next? Or is this President Trump saying, you guys struck first, so I've got the green light?
I think the U.S. made the right move. Look, once we have to determine whether the ship was hit by a breakaway faction of IRGC who just doesn't seem to want peace with the U.S., or whether this was a call from the government saying, yeah, go do this thing. We want to see how much we can get away with. And Iran got their answer. And the only way to give them that answer is to strike back and let them know, when you have a certain kind of behavior, we will attack you tenfold what you attacked those ships with. And once Iran kind of gets that, even dogs, which aren't very intelligent, they understand what happens when you pick up a newspaper to smack them. And we just got to get to that point with Iran, and they will eventually learn.
Now, the IRGC not taking the attack lightly. The group released a statement saying, quote, it is hereby notified to all that only authorized route for passing through the Strait of Hormuz is the one declared by the Islamic Republic of Iran. Goldie, I want to ask you, if Iran takes full control of the Strait, does that mean we're back at square one? And further to that, who is actually in charge on the Iranian side? Who are we really even negotiating with?
I mean, that's a very good question. It seems as if the fractures within the Islamic regime occupying Iran has increased much more than before. I think part of that has to do with President Trump referring to some of them, including Ghalibaf and Araghchi, as, more moderate, even though within a Nazi regime there are no moderates. They are all hardliners. But it seems as if the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is the paramilitary proxy group that the Islamic regime created back in 1979 when they took over Iran, they're not happy, and it seems as if they're just operating on their own, perhaps under the orders of General Vahidi, who knows. But this is why we Iranians have been saying for 47 years, you cannot negotiate with the Islamic regime, you cannot teach them, you cannot reform them. In World War II, a Nazi was a Nazi, and today the Islamic regime occupying Iran, they're the modern day version of Nazis. They're irreparable, irreformable. They created their entire Islamic revolution based on this chant of death to America. And there's no way that they're going to ever honor any sort of peace deal or MOU or anything of that nature with the United States.
Yeah, President Trump has made it clear this regime should not have a nuclear weapon. Now, despite the president's priorities, the leader of the UN's International Atomic Energy Agency hasn't even talked to Iranian leadership about inspecting these nuclear facilities. Now, Goldie, I do want to ask you this, because you have firsthand experience with this. You and your family fled Iran when you were just 1 year old. I mean, speak to that, this regime, and I mean, is there any pressure being applied on Iran if they still think that they can have a nuclear weapon?
I mean, the Islamic regime definitely will try to get a nuclear weapon. See, for the Islamic regime, they measure success by survival. So every single day that they survive and that they're around, they view that as a victory, because their survival means that they have one more day to try and export their terrorism in the Middle East and around the world as well. So absolutely, the Islamic regime, they might say one thing in English when they're speaking with, Western politicians, but on Islamic regime state TV, which, by the way, it's a, full-on propaganda outlet. No Iranian actually watches Islamic regime state TV, but on their own TV propaganda networks, they have claimed that owning a nuclear bomb is their God-given or Allah-given right, and that they're going to pursue this at all costs. Ultimately, the Islamic regime engages in something called taqiyya, which basically means if their lips are moving, they're lying. You cannot trust a word coming from anyone from the Islamic regime.
I think that's a great point, Goldie. Ryan, I want to bring you in here. When we look at what's happening on the ground in Iran, one of the things that President Trump said at the outset was that we were going to take these guys out, take out the mullahs, and there would be an uprising of the Iranian people. Now, we've seen tens of thousands of the Iranian people murdered, butchered by the terrorist government. The question is, are they in any position now, any better than they were when the war started, to actually move this forward inside Iran and take back their government?
I don't think so. And I can tell you that when you've had 45,000 of your friends killed in front of you, that is a pretty big motivator not to get back into the streets and protest. The government may be weaker. People may be even more angry at the government. But since the war, you've seen a lot of people get laid off. Now you're running around spending all day trying to find food. It's a lot more difficult to actually live your life now than it was before, and the government doesn't seem to be going anywhere. It is very easy for us to say, let's go protest, and then we're going to stop at Starbucks on the way back. And when you don't even have that, it makes it a lot tougher to face Iranian guns when your stomachs are empty.
Yeah, Iran took on Egypt in the World Cup, but it's what happened off the field that's gaining a lot of attention here. You had dozens of protesters that were
That's a terrorist flag of the Islamic regime there. So, I mean, it's definitely a political thing. I think it's very shameful that FIFA said that the lion and sun flag, which is the flag above my head here, is banned. And the one thing that the Islamic regime knows about us Iranians is one of the reasons that we've survived is that we have refused to be silent in the face of oppression. The Islamic regime can't silence us, and neither can FIFA.
Ryan, real quick, just as we wrap this up, what happens next? I mean, we're seeing an escalation. We're not sure exactly who we're negotiating with. A lot of Americans unhappy with the fact that we are here to begin with. Does this lead potentially to the need for troops and boots on the ground, maybe Karg Island, et cetera?
I don't think so. You can control Karg Island just by blockading Iran. I mean, that was a very successful operation we had. In fact, I think the reason we were talking about Karg Island was to make the Iranians think, oh, that's where they're going. And meanwhile, we just blockade the country. And we could do that at our leisure and keep that done almost indefinitely. I think we keep moving along with this process. Ships leave the Strait of Hormuz. Ships come into the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices slowly fall. And maybe Iran will strike one or two more ships every week just to see if they can get away with anything. And as we've seen with the president, they're going to strike right back. And Iran will, oh, okay, this is how far we can go. Can't go in that route again. So you might see other things, such as maybe saboteurs or terrorist attacks, just again to see how they can push Iran. And then after the midterms, if the United States or if the Republican Party takes back the House, we might see further military action to kind of finish the job, so to speak. Or if everything seems cool in Iran, then we kind of back off and we say, okay, you're over there and we're over here. And this whole thing is done between us and everyone can make money because you're acting like a normal human nation.
All right. Ryan McBeth, thank you. Goldie Ghamari, appreciate both of you.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
Joining us now, former Navy Lieutenant Commander Tom Sauer, along with retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General Blaine Holt and Iranian-born human rights activist Goldie Ghamari. Great to see you all. Thank you for being with us this morning. American forces struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations as retaliation for Iran's drone attack on a Singapore flagship in the Strait of Hormuz. Still technically a very fragile ceasefire in effect, but Lieutenant, let me go to you. Do you think that the deal is doomed after what we've seen over the weekend?
Thanks for having me, Bill. No, I don't think the deal is in any real meaningful trouble right now. I think we fully expected this to happen. You know, like what the correspondent was saying earlier, there's very much an aspect of this that is meant to be saving face, right? So they still want to at least look strong, at least for themselves and for their people. So you know what you're seeing Iran do, the IRGC do, is not terribly meaningful right now because they don't have much meaningful capability, and they're responding in such a way. And you know they might be trying to make this a negotiation tactic, but it's not going to be terribly effective. If you remember as well, in 2020, when Donald Trump made the decision to drop a hellfire on Soleimani, killing him, they responded as well, and they fired a few missiles that missed one of our bases, and it was really meant to be more of a face-saving measure. I see this actually happening, and this is not too different from what we're seeing there. I'm very bullish on the MOU, and as we continue through this whole process, and I'm very optimistic.
Yeah, President Trump very bullish on the MOU as well, and issued Iran an incredibly serious warning on Truth Social, saying, quote, "It is very possible they will never learn. There may come a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started. If that happens, the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist." So, General Holt, in your view, what does militarily complete the job look like here?
Well, there's not going to be an agreement that has any stickiness to it whatsoever until the IRGC finds its end. This group of Armageddon-minded psychopaths are going to keep at it because there's no other way out for them.
Right.
But what's been happening over the last week is been very, very little reporting on it, but it's bears watching. And that is that you've had 6 days of revolts and revolution starting riots in a lot of the major cities of Tehran over food and water as well. And what we see is that these folks are putting it all on the line. A lot of them some are getting killed, some are getting tortured. The Kurds are now up on the northern border, and they're promising to move in on an offensive to link up and help. And then you have the Iraqi special forces that raided a building right next to the U.S. Embassy last night. Any pro-Iranian politician was rounded up and arrested. And so while there's a lot of things you can see that kinetically indicate that the ceasefire is on pause, the president has about 5 different avenues of approach to get Iran to where it can actually negotiate in good faith instead of the negotiators taking a bullet to the head from the IRGC for being sympathetic to the United States.
Let's talk with the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard. They released a statement saying, quote, "It is hereby notified to all that the only authorized route for passing through the Strait of Hormuz is the one declared by the Islamic Republic of Iran." Goldie, let me ask you, if Iran tries to take full control of the strait, does that mean we are back to square one, where we started before the war?
Well, no, because, I mean, this is how the Islamic regime operates. They're basically trying to save face right now. I think what's really important to understand about the Islamic regime and the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was specifically created in 1979 after the Islamic takeover of occupied Iran. And the IRGC was created with the sole purpose of protecting and exporting their jihad, their, Islamic revolution around the world. It's really important to understand that the revolution did not end in 1979. Their Islamic revolution, their jihad began in 1979. And so until the Islamic regime is eradicated, there will never be peace. And what you're going to see is more of these sorts of attacks, because the whole existence of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is based on this never-ending jihad with the United States and with Israel. So the only way to have peace in the Middle East is to eradicate the IRGC.
So, Goldie, just on that, I mean, just a quick follow-up. Who is the White House actually negotiating with in Iran? I mean, the regime's got fractured leadership. You've got the IRGC. Who are we talking to?
Well, President Trump has said that, he's speaking with Ghalibaf and Arakchi, Ghalibaf being the Speaker of the Parliament, Arakchi being the Foreign Affairs Minister, the one whose video clip you played earlier. What's really interesting is that right now, after the assassination of Khamenei, and by the way, we're incredibly grateful for that, there has been a fracture within the IRGC, within the Islamic regime, different factions. So even though Ghalibaf is trying to present himself as more of like a moderate, even though he's just as terrible as the rest of them, he's doing that because he wants to survive. But the IRGC, Vahidi and others, the generals, they're, like was mentioned earlier, they're just this demonic Armageddon-esque cult. And all they want to do is just destroy the world.
Goldie Ghamari, thank you very much. General Blaine Holt, Lieutenant Commander Sauer, great to see you all. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you all.
Well, Durud Patriots, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to day 177 of Iran Revolution Live. And I just want to say I missed you all. I cannot believe how much I actually missed all of you. I missed this amazing community, and it feels so good to be back. And as you can see, even though I did take a little bit of time off, a little bit of time away from my YouTube channel while I was figuring out a few things, I was still incredibly busy. And as you saw, I just shared 2 of the numerous interviews that I've done in the media in this last week alone. So I've been keeping myself apprised of everything that has been going on. And can I just say, I've been reading your comments, and it's so great to see you all. But I do have to start with one thing, and that is Goldie is always right. Because as we can see, this past week, even though I was away, and even though there were a lot of panicins out there who were talking about, oh no, President Trump is going to make a deal, and President Trump is, coming to an agreement, or whatever the case might be, right? The naval blockade is ending. The Islamic regime is going to be more powerful. Have you seen the attacks? Guys, we have so much to talk about and break down. And what I can say is that even though I was gone this last week, the situation hasn't really changed, has it? We're in this weird sort of status quo, right? This status quo where it's kind of like a ceasefire, right? Like technically we're in a ceasefire, and yet there's so many boom booms happening, right? The Islamic regime, the IRGC, they're attacking cargo ships. The United States is responding, retaliating. And what's really smart about this strategy that the United States has right now is that by waiting for the IRGC to strike first, that basically gives a carte blanche to President Trump and CENTCOM to go in and destroy IRGC targets and bases, right? Because at this point, it's not technically a war, right? Not technically a war by the legal definition, which means the Democrats can't try to pull another, pro-Islamic regime move in Congress by passing a bill to end the so-called war. Because everything the United States is doing right now is defensive, right? The Islamic regime strikes first, and the United States responds. And everyone who thinks that President Trump is, he's making a deal with the devil. Well, here's the thing about the Islamic regime. I mean, I can't comment on how President Trump will act because, I haven't studied President Trump for a long time. Although those of you who have been following me for the last, 177 days on Iran Revolution Live, you know that I've been pretty much very good at interpreting what President Trump says, right? Translating it from political speak to regular English. But here's the one thing that we can always bank on. That is the violence and savagery of the Islamic regime. Because even if, and I said this in my interviews, you saw that, right? I was explaining this to people, to Americans who watched Newsmax. Even though Ghalibaf and Arakchi might pretend to be moderates, might pretend to, want to reform, a Nazi is a Nazi is a Nazi. But not only that, they have lost control of the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And this is what I said in my media interview, and I really want to stress this and point this out to all of you. The reason that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was created in 1979 was to protect the Islamic Revolution. It was to protect the jihad. Because, like I said in my interview, the Islamic Revolution did not end in 1979. The Islamic Revolution began in 1979. In their minds, they call themselves revolutionaries, right? Because for them, the revolution is still happening. Now, what is the revolution in their minds? Well, the revolution in the minds of these Durka jihadis is jihad. Is jihad against Israel, jihad against the United States. Remember, Israel is the little Satan, and the United States is the big Satan, the great Satan. Which is actually really funny when you think about it, because if the United States is the great Satan according to the Islamic regime, then why is it that they also put out this like weird, anti-Jewish conspiracy theory propaganda about how Israel controls the world? I mean, if Israel really controlled the world, wouldn't the Islamic regime call Israel the great Satan as opposed to the little Satan? So do you see how even within their own propaganda narrative, they're contradicting themselves? Like, that's how stupid these people are. That's how stupid these people are. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. They're incredibly dangerous. These people are violent. These people are barbarians. They're savages. The only reason that the Islamic regime remains in power today is because they have brought in their paramilitary proxy forces, their terrorist groups. Most of them, actually all of them, not Iranian, right? When you think about it, occupied Iran is the biggest open air prison in the Middle East. And the Islamic regime is holding 90 million innocent, unarmed Iranians hostage. And they're murdering them every single day in order to spread fear throughout the population. But there's a reason that this show is called Iran Revolution Live. That's because everything fundamentally changed on January 7, 8, and 9. Because on January 7, 8, and 9, Iranians inside of occupied Iran went out into the streets in the millions. Every single major city across occupied Iran, small towns, villages, even farms, Iranians went out peacefully, by the way, peacefully. And they raised their voices in the millions across the country. And they said, we don't want the Islamic regime. We don't want Sharia law. We don't want to be occupied by these Islamic terrorists. What we want is freedom. What we want is democracy. What we want is secularism. What we want is basic human rights. And most importantly, Iranians in occupied Iran said, what we want is for His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Iran, or as I like to refer to him, the Shah of Iran. And in fact, the vast majority of Iranians in occupied Iran call him the Shah because he is the Shah. They said, we want the Shah of Iran to return and to transition the country from a brutal, totalitarian Islamic dictatorship to a functioning, secular, modern, democratic society. For the first time in 47 years, millions and millions of Iranians took to the streets peacefully. And I've shared the videos with you, and I'll share videos with you in future episodes, but Millions of Iranians went out. There was laughter, there was cheering, there was joy. Iranians were raising the lion and sun flag. Not just the regular lion and sun flag, the lion and sun flag with the crown on top of it. There was hope. I've even heard reports that some cities were actually taken. Some cities were conquered, and the IRGC were kicked out. There's even some videos of police laying down their arms and joining the people, and people cheering and clapping. That was on January 7 of 2026. Then, on January 8, when Iranians went back out, the Islamic regime shut down the internet. And while millions and millions, tens of millions of Iranians were out in the streets showing their support for His Royal Highness, the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, while they were calling for the end of the Islamic regime, the terrorist and illegitimate Islamic regime, this brutal, totalitarian, barbaric, 7th century Islamic Shia death cult, they brought out their military-grade weapons and they shot into the crowd. And in the span of 2 days alone, on January 8 and 9 of 2026, using their military-grade weapons, using their foreign Shia terrorist groups from Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, they shot into the crowds. And in the span of 2 days alone, they murdered over 40,000 innocent, unarmed Iranians. Just because Iranians wanted freedom. So that's why this show is called Iran Revolution Live. Because the one thing that I can tell you, the one message that I want to share with all of you is that January 8, 2026, the day that the terrorist and illegitimate Islamic regime shut down the internet to murder over 40,000. Now, guys, the number is probably closer to 100,000. We just don't know. We don't know because there's evidence of the Islamic regime destroying funeral records. There's so many unmarked mass graves. So many people are still missing. There's evidence of the Islamic regime selling Iranian women's hair on the black market. There's been an influx of hair on the black market. At least one shipment was caught at the border between Iran and Armenia. Where's that hair coming from? Where's that influx of Iranian women's hair suddenly coming from? Right after January 8 and 9. It's exactly what you think it is. Because the Islamic regime, just like communist China, also operates in the black market when it comes to organs. The Islamic regime, one of the ways that they make money is that they will sell the organs of protesters on the black market. And then they bury the body of the victim before telling their family, so that the family can't see that the body has been cut up and the organs taken out. We've known about this for years. So it's no surprise at all that the Islamic regime is also now selling Iranian women's hair. This is the brutality of the Islamic regime. This is what Iranians are fighting for. This is what Iran and Iranians have been dealing with for the last 47 years. It is literal hell on earth. And when you think things can't get any worse, they do. They become even worse. There is nothing the Islamic regime will not say or do to the Iranian people it's holding hostage, to non-Iranians in the Middle East, to Western politicians, and even to their own, because the Islamic regime has a well-documented history of murdering people within its own totalitarian system in order to maintain the peace. Certain Islamic regime commanders have even murdered their own children because they want to protect the revolution that began in 1979. And this is what you need to understand if you want to know why the Islamic regime is not willing to come to a peace deal. Because the entire existence of the Islamic regime is predicated on this never-ending jihad with the West, with the great Satan, the United States. This is why, in that video last week that I know you all saw, you saw how J.D. Vance was snubbed. Yeah. I know he tried to play it off, but that was a little bit amateur hour. That was a little bit amateur hour. It was not a good look. And those of us from the Middle East, we all saw it. Because, sure, maybe behind the scenes, right? In closed door, confidential negotiations, sure, the Islamic regime might be begging, might be crying, might be saying whatever needs to be said. But in public, they act differently. And J.D. Vance learned a very hard lesson that day when he was humiliated by the IRGC, because he went there. He went over to them wanting to shake their hands, and they fully snubbed him, right? This is how Islamic terrorists operate. This is why when I say when their lips are moving, they are lying, right? They believe that it is their Allah-given duty and responsibility to say anything that needs to be said in order to protect their revolution, in order to protect their jihad. Think about it. These people have literally murdered their own children to protect their jihad. Do you think they care about you? Do you think they're going to be honest with you? This is why we Iranians have been constantly saying, you cannot negotiate with them. You cannot deal with them. These are vicious, wild, rabid, inbred creatures. I don't even want to say animals because that's an insult to animals. Animals are pure and kind-hearted. These people are literal demons on earth. Anyone who thinks that they can reason or negotiate with someone who is willing to murder their own children for the sake of Allah and jihad, yeah, you're not going to have a good time with that. But I have a feeling President Trump understands that. And I mean, I don't know why J.D. Vance was sent instead of Marco Rubio. Maybe President Trump sent J.D. Vance so that it could be a teaching moment. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the Trump administration. But what I do know is that Marco Rubio knows exactly the kind of totalitarian dictatorship that the Islamic regime is. And Marco Rubio understands that. I guarantee you, if Marco Rubio was there, he would not be walking over to the Islamic regime to shake their hands, right? And here's the other thing. I think President Trump understands the nature of the Islamic regime. Because even though I have been gone for a week, I mean, not technically gone, like as you can see, I was in the media, I was doing interviews, I was following everything along, but I wasn't on YouTube. I wasn't giving my, everyday analysis like so many others were, just panicking every day, attacking this person, attacking that person. Not very professional behavior. But here's the thing about President Trump. I think President Trump understands exactly who and what the Islamic regime is. Remember, President Trump commented on the American hostage situation back in 1979 when the communists and the Islamists took over the embassy and took Americans hostage for 444 days. Remember? President Trump is not the kind of person to forget about something like that. President Trump is also not the kind of person who's going to forget that the Islamic regime tried to assassinate him. President Trump, most importantly, is never going to forget the fact that the Islamic regime, through their Iraqi terrorist proxy group, Hashd-e-Shabi, right, some Iraqi Muslim Arab terrorist dude, tried to assassinate his daughter. And thankfully, thank God, the FBI and Kash Patel found out and arrested him before he was able to do so. Do you think President Trump is actually going to forgive a terrorist organization that tried to assassinate his daughter? I have a feeling that President Trump knows exactly the nature of the Islamic regime. It is a wild, rabid animal. You know what? I can't say animal because that's an insult to animal. It's wild, rabid creature, right? And even though Arakchi and Ghalibaf are trying so hard to seem reasonable and moderate and, they want to appease and blah, 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 the actual Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is making it a little difficult, isn't it? I'm sure you've seen the footage of the attacks by the Islamic regime against random cargo ships. One of them was from Panama. What does Panama have to do with anything? Why is the IRGC attacking a cargo ship from Panama? Right? The Islamic regime is continuing to attack Persian Gulf countries in the Middle East. Yeah. The Islamic regime is collapsing. It's not a matter of if the Islamic regime will collapse. It's a matter of when. No one can answer that question because we simply don't know. But this is why the Iranian people have an urgency. That's because despite all of this, the Islamic regime is continuing to oppress, torture, rape, and execute innocent Iranian people. Because while the Islamic regime is weak when it comes to Israel and the United States, the Islamic regime is good at one thing, and that's oppressing innocent, unarmed Iranian people. The Islamic regime understands that the biggest threat to its existence is not the United States. It's not Israel. It's not other countries. The single biggest threat to the Islamic regime occupying Iran is the Iranian people themselves. That is why the Islamic regime spends more time oppressing, terrorizing, murdering, torturing, executing the Iranian people than it does on actual warfare. This is also why the Islamic regime has a vested interest in Hezbollah. Hezbollah is the Shia Arab terrorist proxy group of the Islamic regime that's occupying southern Lebanon. The same way that the Islamic regime is occupying Iran, Hezbollah is occupying southern Lebanon. And here's what you need to understand about Hezbollah. Hezbollah, by the way, I just want to say how crazy these people are. So Hezbollah translates to the party of Allah. Hizb means party, and then Allah, right? So Hizb Allah, Hezbollah. Common theme here, isn't there? There's a common theme here. The Islamic regime occupying Iran. The party of Allah occupying southern Lebanon. The Islamic regime is exporting its jihad. And Lebanon is one of the biggest victims right now. After Iran, Lebanon, the Christian Lebanese. Guys, remember, Lebanon used to be a majority Christian country, right? Back in the 70s, Lebanon was majority Christian. What happened? What happened to Lebanon? Jihad. That's what happened to Lebanon. This is how these Islamic terrorists have exported their jihadi ideology, not just in the Middle East, but around the world. And the reason that the Islamic regime today has a vested interest in keeping Hezbollah around is because one of the ways that the Islamic regime has stayed in power is through Hezbollah. Because whenever the Iranian people try to rise up, they bring in their Arab Shia Islamic regime terrorist proxy and Hezbollah to murder Iranians. I'm going to find this video from Hassan Nasrallah. I'll share it with you next time. But it is such a chilling and just insane video. And any Iranians who are watching, they know exactly which video I'm talking about. So Hassan Nasrallah, which by the way was exterminated like the garbage that he is, and thank you, Israel. Thank you so much for that. We love you forever for that. Hassan Nasrallah actually said that there is no Iranian culture. There's only Islamic culture. And he said that, I think it was in Persian. This is the wildest thing. Hassan Nasrallah spoke fluent Persian without an accent. His bastard son, who's like the son of, I don't know, one of his concubines or whatever, his bastard son, who's like some mullah or something, lives in Iran. I believe he's in Qom. He's a mullah, like one of those, turban heads or whatever. Yeah, he speaks fluent Persian as well. So when I tell you, and when other Iranians tell you, that the vast majority of people who are within the Islamic regime are not even Iranian, I'm not joking. Khamenei himself was not Iranian. He's from Iraq. Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic regime, the bidet guy, the pedophile. Well, I mean, they're all pedophiles, but he was like the, supreme pedophile, I guess. He was from like Pakistan, India, or Punjab, or wherever. Kashmir, maybe, I don't know. Arakchi, The foreign affairs minister, Araqchi, his last name, Araq, it means from Iraq. All of these mullahs and clerics and whatever, none of them are actually Iranian. They're all invaders. They're foreigners. They're anti-Iranian, and they've been trying to oppress the Iranian people. And we've been trying to warn you. We've been trying to tell you. Don't trust them. Don't believe them. Don't deal with them. Don't negotiate with them, because these are not regular, normal, rational state actors. These are violent, inbred, third world jihadi terrorists who are literally willing to murder their own children in the name of Allah, their God. If they're willing to murder their children in the name of Allah, what are they going to do to you? What could they do to you? So this is why you can't ever have peace with the Islamic regime. Because the Islamic regime was not created for peaceful purposes. The Islamic regime was created to take over the world. And you're seeing that right now. And I have a feeling that President Trump, with everything that he's been saying and doing, is banking on that very fact. That no matter how much someone within the Islamic regime might try to pretend that they're moderate or they want to come to a deal or negotiation or whatever, there's going to be other factions. And I've shown you the boom boom bingo sheet. There's going to be other factions who are going to act out. And that's exactly why you're seeing the violence, right? Exactly why you're seeing the violence. And so, the back and forth continues. But having said that, I do have some news that I do want to share with you all. And I do see all of your super chats and comments. And don't worry, I will get to them all, I promise. And thank you so much for all of those. But there's a few things that I do want to share because this is really important. And given that this is Iran Revolution Live, and I'm here to give you the input and insight from the Iranian side, things that you might not necessarily see in the mainstream media. Let's start with His Royal Highness, Crown Prince of Iran, or as I like to say, the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. So, Reza Pahlavi, through his comms team, how do I fix this? There we go. So through his comms team, he says, from July 4 to July 9, as the regime stages its deceptive propaganda around the burial and remains of the supreme criminal. Oh, I love this. Supreme criminal. See, so I like to call him the supreme dictator, but his comms team is calling him the supreme criminal. Just as good, if not even better. Ali Khamenei khabar margesh. And as we mark the 6th month since the courageous national uprising of January 8 and 9, freedom-loving Iranians will take to the streets around the world as part of the global week of action for a free Iran. So guys, His Royal Highness has called for another international rally around the world. The global week of action for a free Iran. So what he's saying is so Iranians in the diaspora, that's me and everyone else, they will gather to show the world the true face of Iran and to honor the eternal memory of the fallen heroes of Iran's Lion and Sun Revolution, 6 months after their massacre. A massacre that murdered over 40,000 over 2 days. A shocking 14 Iranians a minute. Guys, think about that. In the span of 2 days alone, 14 Iranians a minute were being murdered by the Islamic regime. Minimum. So, the Global Week of Action for a Free Iran. This campaign will begin on July 4th, alongside Independence Day in the United States, with gatherings outside U.S. embassies in capitals around the world. Our message to the American people and the U.S. government is clear. Stand with the Iranian people. Do not deal with terrorists. Choose the people of Iran. 250 years ago, America chose freedom. Today, the people of Iran are fighting for that same freedom. Any deal with the criminal Islamic Republic stands in direct contradiction to the ideals and values of the United States and the free world. Our compatriots inside Iran can also take part while protecting their safety and keeping their identities hidden by recording videos at the graves of our fallen heroes, writing messages on walls, and using other creative methods to send similar messages to the American people and government. Further details of the Global Week of Action for Free Iran will be announced soon. There you go. Don't deal with terrorists. 250 years ago, America chose freedom. Today, Iranians too are fighting for freedom. Dealing with the criminal Islamic regime is in contradiction with America's values and ideals. July 4th, Iranian gathering in front of U.S. embassies worldwide. I want to point out a few things as well. As most of you already know, especially those of you who've been watching Iran Revolution Live for quite a while, this is not an angry protest, right? This is not about Iranians going there and attacking the US consulates or denouncing America or anything like that. Those of you who have watched and seen protests by Iranians, especially Iranian Americans, and not even just Iranian Americans, like Iranians all around the world, every single free Iran demonstration, you can find dozens and dozens of American flags, dozens and dozens of Israeli flags. Why? Because these rallies, they're not anti-America rallies. They're pro-America rallies. These rallies are about showing Americans that Iran is not your enemy. It's about showing the world that we Iranians, we have no enmity with the United States. We love the United States. In fact, prior to 1979, Iran and the United States were very strong, very close allies. And I've shown you footage of that. It's only when the Islamic regime occupied Iran in 1979 that their whole death to America and, the great Satan, Islamic jihadi nonsense began. That enmity that the Islamic regime has with Americans, that's not part of our Iranian culture or identity. We Iranians and you Americans, we share the same enemy. That's the Islamic regime. But it's also important for Iranians, especially those of us who are outside of occupied Iran, to be a voice for those inside, to be a voice for those who cannot speak because the very act of speaking can get you executed. So on July 4th, you will be seeing thousands and thousands of Iranians in various cities in America and around the world going in front of US consulates. But not to be angry, not to be anti-American. Remember, we're not jihadis. We're not the Palestinians, right? We're not going there going, oh, Akbar, whatever, right? Like, we're not going there chanting Intifada and burning American flags. That's not who we are. We're going there to wave the American flag, to pay our respects to America, to celebrate the 250-year anniversary of America's freedom, and to also say that we Iranians, we want the exact same freedom that you have. That's what we're fighting for. And any deal with the Islamic regime not only goes against our Iranian values, but it goes against your American values. So yeah, expect to see a lot of Iranians out on July 4th to celebrate your Independence Day and to also call for our independence. And I think that this is a great opportunity for Iranians all around the world to show how much our values actually align with American values. Remember, Thomas Jefferson was actually inspired by Cyrus the Great, and Cyrus the Great is the founder of the Persian Empire. So even though America is a new country, 250 years old, and Iran is a very old country, almost 3,000 years old, we are united through history. There is a connection there, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Maybe it's God, maybe it's the universe, I don't know. But for all the Americans who are watching, on July 4th, if you see Iranians out waving the flag of Iran, waving the flag of America, chanting, demonstrating, calling for President Trump to finish the job, just know that's not anger. That's Iranians celebrating your independence and calling for the same thing. We just want what you want. We Iranians just want what you have. We Iranians just want what we had prior to 1979, when Jimmy Carter and the Democrats stabbed the Shah of Iran in the back and helped to install a Muslim Nazi pedophile terrorist. This is why Iranians, we despise and dislike the Democrats, but we love the Republicans. And I've shown you footage, but Richard Nixon, yeah, we love Richard Nixon. And it's a shame that the character assassinated Richard Nixon, because if he had still been in power, the 1979 Islamic coup d'etat would have never happened. Jimmy Carter made a lot of terrible foreign policy mistakes. But I would say that helping a brutal, totalitarian, 7th century, inbred Muslim Nazi pedophile take over Iran and turn it into a 7th century Islamic hellhole governed by Sharia law, probably his worst policy mistake. And not only have Iranians been paying the price in blood, but Americans have also paid the price for Jimmy Carter and the Democrats' mistake in blood. And I'm actually working on a video because there's a lot of debate and a lot of talk about how big of a threat is the Islamic regime to America? Why is President Trump going after the Islamic regime? Why should the Islamic regime be eradicated? Is it really a threat to your national security? Because there are a lot of isolationists, a lot of Democrats, a lot of, communists, a lot of Trump derangement syndrome people, a lot of, whatever, pro-Islamic regime people who are out there claiming that the Islamic regime is not a threat. I'm working on a research video, and I'll be uploading that and sharing that soon. And that video is going to answer one very simple question. How many Americans has the Islamic regime actually murdered? The answer is going to surprise you. So make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and your notifications are turned on. Because when I share that video with you, you're going to understand exactly why President Trump is doing what he's doing. And you're going to understand why Iranians support President Trump's actions to destroy the Islamic regime, and why Iranians are going to be going out on February 4 asking President Trump to finish the job and to not make a deal with the terrorist and illegitimate Islamic regime. Now, having said that, President Trump has recently posted on Truth Social. And I know you've seen these posts, but I'm going to share them again because they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So, this is one from yesterday. United States aircraft just struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations and coastal radar sites for violating the ceasefire agreement again. Okay? I've actually lost track of how many times the Islamic regime has violated the ceasefire. I mean, we all know that if their lips are moving, they're lying, right? And I mean, I said from the beginning, I was like, this ceasefire is not going to last. Like, it's not going to be honored. And even President Trump is acknowledging this, right? So violating the ceasefire again. Now, here's the interesting part. This is where President Trump is starting to hint at what I have been telling you forever, and what I've also been saying in the mainstream media. President Trump says, it is very possible that they will never learn. Guys, I'm telling you right now, it is not very possible that they will never learn. It is 100% certain and guaranteed that the Islamic regime will never learn. Why? Because one of the core foundational pillars of the Islamic regime is its never-ending jihad with the United States. The Islamic regime came to power chanting death to America, the great Satan, Allahu Akbar, jihad, durka durka, whatever, right? The very core, the very essence of the Islamic regime, what gives it legitimacy in its own eyes, by the way, because I don't think it's legitimate. Iranians don't think it's legitimate. But in its own, demented, third world, 7th century inbred minds, what they think gives themselves legitimacy is this never-ending jihad with the United States. That's why the supporters of the Islamic regime right now are calling for the deaths of anyone who signs a deal with President Trump. Because in their minds, if the Islamic regime makes a deal with the great Satan, that's you guys, you Americans, you're all the great Satan according to, the Islamic regime and their jihadi durka supporters. If that deal is made, then the entire purpose of the Islamic regime is gone. The revolution is over. And that means they failed Allah. They failed their God, right? So that's interesting. President Trump says it is very possible they will never learn. I'm telling you, they will never learn. They will never learn. And then he continues. There may come a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started. If that happens, the Islamic Republic of Iran will no longer exist. President Donald J. Trump. Don't threaten me with a good time, President Trump. Please do not threaten me with a good time. This is what we Iranians want. We want the Islamic Republic of Iran to no longer exist. We want them to be boomed straight to hell where they belong, right? Like, that's what we want. So when Iranians are out in the streets and they're saying, President Trump, finish the job, what do you think we're referring to when we're asking President Trump to finish the job? Now, here's the very interesting thing about this particular tweet, or sorry, this particular truth that President Trump posted. Because as you may recall, okay, as you may recall, let me see if I can make this a bit bigger here so you can, there we go. So, as you may recall, the last time that President Trump spoke about making the Islamic regime cease to exist, instead of saying the Islamic Republic of Iran, he just said Iran. Now, I knew what he meant. Most Iranians knew what he meant. Republicans knew what he meant, right? He was referring to the Islamic regime. However, the Democrats, the pro-Islamic regime supporters, the jihadis, the Trump derangement syndrome people, the communists, the, whatever, right? They were all like, oh no, President Trump is threatening genocide. Oh no, President Trump, genocide, right? Even though when the Islamic regime murdered over 40,000 innocent unarmed Iranians in 2 days alone, none of them spoke up. None of them said a word. But yet, over semantics, they went after President Trump, accusing him of threatening genocide. Even though we Iranians, we knew exactly what he meant. But, I remember and I was like, I just wish instead of saying Iran, President Trump had clarified to say the Islamic regime or the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? Make that difference. And guys, this is why this distinction matters. Because Iran is not the Islamic Republic. Iran is occupied by the Islamic Republic, right? It's like the difference between Germany and Nazi Germany, right? If someone says, I want to eradicate Nazi Germany, no one's going to bat an eyelash because Nazi Germany is evil. But if they say Germany, even though they mean Nazi Germany, that can be used against you. And I find it very interesting that this time around, President Trump specifically said the Islamic Republic of Iran. Once again, President Trump, do not threaten me with a good time because that is what we are waiting for. That is what we want. I don't know how else to say this, but I mean, when President Trump says it is very possible they will never learn, guys, take what I'm about to say to you to the bank. They will never, ever learn. And I have footage for you. I have a lot of footage. I can't share it all today because, we're running out of time, but, and I do want to get to your questions and comments, but there is a lot of footage. And you are not going to believe some of the things that the Islamic regime has been saying on Durka News Network. That's my nickname for their Islamic regime state TV propaganda. And I have a whole bunch of videos that I'm going to be sharing with you tomorrow, because tomorrow's focus is going to be specifically on what's happening inside of occupied Iran and what Islamic regime state TV is saying or not saying. But having said that, this is where things now get even more interesting. So 6 hours ago, President Trump said, Iran has requested a meeting. It will take place tomorrow in Doha. President Donald J. Trump. Oh, Qatar. Awkward. I don't know. Who's going to be there? Who is going to Qatar? And ask yourselves, why? Why is the Islamic regime requesting it in Qatar, which is another terrorist state, by the way? President Trump knows that quite well. Anyways, that's just a little bit of my updates and my thoughts. Summary of the last, 6 months, 7 months. And like I said, we are just getting started because even though I was gone for a week, nothing's really changed, has it? The only thing that's changed is that the boom booms are continuing. The only thing that's changed is that President Trump is now saying that he might have to exterminate the Islamic regime. The other thing that I want to talk about, and I'll mention it briefly here, but I'm going to go more in depth on this tomorrow, is the funeral of Ali Khamenei, the supreme dictator, the one that was exterminated and, sent back to hell where he belongs. What's really interesting about, their religion or whatever is that according to their own religion, they have to be buried within 3 days. Ali Khamenei was exterminated on February 28, and he still hasn't been buried. Now, supposedly, they're going to start his funeral procession or whatever on July 4th. And the reason that they're picking July 4th is, they claim it's because it's part of their Ashura, whatever. Ashura is I think I've spoken about that. Ashura is some Arab Shia religious thing where they're walking around and they're whipping their backs and they're Allahu Akbar or whatever. And it's mourning over the death of some dead Arab warlord. I can't remember which one. I'll get the details tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. One of them. But they're we're waiting for Ashura to bury him, which is the weirdest thing ever, because when the founder of the Islamic regime, Khomeini, Khabar Margish, when he, died, they buried him within 3 days. Because that's what, they're supposed to do. But now they're claiming that, we've waited this long because of, we want to bury him during the mourning ceremony of some dead Arab warlord that died 1400 years ago while everyone's whipping their backs. And by the way, I've actually heard rumors that part of this funeral procession or whatever, they're going to be taking him to Iraq, to Karbala. Yeah. When I tell you that the Islamic regime is not Iranian, when I tell you that they're foreign invaders, this is what I'm talking about. Why the hell is it that the supreme dictator of the Islamic regime occupying Iran needs to go, like his corpse has to go to Iraq. Kind of weird. It's kind of weird if you don't know what the Islamic regime is. But once you understand the Islamic regime is a foreign, non-Iranian Islamic jihadi occupying force, then it all makes sense. What's going to be really interesting about this funeral procession for Khamenei, and I'm going to have a lot more to say on this in the next few days as it comes up and more details are announced. What's going to be really interesting is to see who shows up and who doesn't. Is Mujtaba, the cardboard supreme dictator, his, bastard son, like one of them, I don't know which one, the eldest or whatever, is he going to show up? The one who has been the supreme dictator since his father was exterminated, but we haven't seen or heard from him? All we know is that he's been severely injured, according to what President Trump, Senator Marco Rubio, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth have said. They've all confirmed that he's severely injured. He's alive, but severely injured. Is he going to show up? Is the current supreme dictator of the Islamic regime going to show up to his own father's funeral? I mean, all of the Trump derangement syndrome and Democrats and whatever, they're all claiming that the Islamic regime is now ruled by a younger, more vicious, more hardline supreme dictator. And yet we haven't seen him. We haven't heard him. Where is he? Is he going to show up for his father's funeral? What about all these commanders? What about all these generals? It's going to be very interesting to see who shows up and who doesn't, because that's going to give us a very good idea of who's alive and who isn't. The other thing I want you guys to think about and remember is was it Al-Quds Day? No, it wasn't Al-Quds Day. It was, I think it was like the anniversary. Oh, it was like the Allahu Akbar Jihadi Anniversary Durga Day, right? It was like the anniversary of the Islamic regime occupying Iran. All of these people came out that we hadn't seen before, right? And within a few days, they were all exterminated. We're talking about like Pakpur, Larijani, Shamkhani. Shamkhani was buried without a head. I'll go over all of this in detail when I'm speaking more about Khamenei's upcoming funeral. But it's going to be very interesting to see who actually comes out, because the last time that there was a big event like this, within a few days, a whole bunch of them were boom-boomed. Yeah. So a lot of them are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place now, aren't they? Because they're wondering, it's the funeral of the supreme dictator. I should be there, especially since right now there's like a power struggle within the Islamic regime, right? Different factions are fighting and vying for control. But if they do show up, then they're at risk of being boom-boomed. Maybe not right then and there. I mean, although that would be like every Iranian's like dream, right? And guys, anyone from, the American administration or Israeli administration, if you're watching this, please go ahead. Like, we give you our full blessing. During the funeral procession of Khamenei, if there's an opportunity to boom them, just go for it. Now, here's the other thing. I have a feeling that the funeral procession for Khamenei is going to be very, very well attended. It's not going to be like super full of mourners. I mean, although like the mourners will be there, right? Like the paid actors and, you know, all those like Durka, jihadi, whatever, like you're going to see them. The Islamic regime is also in the process of importing, you know, like it's jihadi supporters from, you know, like Afghanistan and Pakistan and, you know, Iraq and Syria and, you know, Lebanon and Gaza and, you know, wherever else, right? Like a lot of the like African countries, right? Like, I don't know, like Uganda, Nigeria, right? Like the jihadi Muslims from there. So the Islamic regime is importing, you know, Bangladesh, whatever, like all these places, like they're importing all of these non-Iranians to help with filling the crowds. But I have a feeling that the crowds will be massive. Not because Iranians are going there to mourn the extermination of the supreme leader. It's because many Iranians want to go and see the coffin of the murderer of their loved ones going by, almost as if to make sure that he is actually really dead, right? Many Iranians are going to want to witness that. So people will be going out because they will want to, if they can, experience and witness the moment that the murderer of their loved ones goes by. If only as a way to maybe get a little bit of relief. Although nothing can really take away from the pain of losing a loved one, the pain of losing a child. But yeah, it will be extremely well attended. That's my feeling anyway. That's my feeling. I could be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let me go to some of your questions and comments, and then if we have time afterwards, I'll continue with a few more things. But don't worry, guys, I will be live streaming tonight as well, The Goldie Show. Iran Revolution Live is focused more on Iran, of course, but The Goldie Show is a bit more, you know, broad. So I will be going into in depth on especially American policy and other things later tonight. So keep your notifications on for that. Okay, so let's begin. So we have Persian American. Welcome back, Goldie. We missed you. Oh, thank you guys. I missed you all as well. It's so great to be back. And yeah, I'm so thrilled to be back. I really did miss all of you. Andy Barnes. Things do not seem quite so black. Now we have our Goldie back. Oh, thank you. That's so cute. P.S. Did you see Douglas Murray on Coleman Hughes' podcast last half on MOU deal? No, I haven't. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. Okay, I'll go check it out. You know, I actually I met Douglas Murray a while ago. Fantastic guy. Very smart, and yeah, I have a few photos with him too. And you know, of course, as usual, when I met Douglas Murray, took a photo with him, the jihadis in Canada accused me of Islamophobia, right? But there you go. Anyways, but no, okay, I'll definitely check that out for sure. Douglas Murray is fantastic, and I always have time for Douglas Murray. John Bond became a new member. Thank you, John. Welcome to Goldie's Gang. Amir the Cricket gifted a membership. Thank you so much, Amir. I really appreciate that. Tommy's gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Tommy's. And then Ron became a new member. Welcome. Ninana became a new member. Welcome so much. Thank you. Then we have a comment from PMC. Welcome back, Goldie. I have so much appreciation to you and your guests, specifically Mr. Navabi, of course, Mr. Navabi, for the continued updates and information we couldn't receive elsewhere. Much love to you, Armin, and all here. It's my 55th birthday. I got things to do. May God prosper you all. Oh, a happy birthday. Happy birthday so much. And thank you so much for the kind words and comments. Really appreciate that. All the best on your 55th birthday. What a great day to come back then. Oh my gosh, guys, everyone, please, in the chat, or in the video comments afterwards, if you're watching the live stream when I'm done, please just wish PMC a very happy 55th birthday. Texas trucker Jeff. No Goldie, my entire vacation, but she's back. We love you, Goldie. Aw, thank you. I love you guys too. So great to be back. Aw. T. Thompson, I really missed you, Goldie, and your diagnosis of the current situation. Aw, thank you. Oh my gosh. Guys, I missed you all as well. No, it's really, really great to be back. And listen, my diagnosis of the situation is the boom booms are continuing, and the Islamic regime is just continuing with their terrorism, right? So let's see how things go. But yeah, there's no way, guys, there's no way that the Islamic regime is ever going to agree to any sort of deal, right? They can't. That would be literally the end of their existence. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing there right now. But again, I'll have a lot more to say. Amir the Cricket, a small collective message, I speak for everyone, of rejoice for your return. Goldie, oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, you're making me emotional. This is so nice. I missed you all as well. No, it's really, really great to be back. But guys, you know what? I did share some of my media interviews with you. So I was still working, just sort of behind the scenes. Veteran Hoffman says, that's true about pre-1979 Iran, Goldie. Veteran Hoffman, first of all, Veteran Hoffman, I'm assuming you're a veteran, so thank you so much for your service. So guys, veterans referring to when I was speaking about how prior to the 1979 Islamic takeover of Iran, Iran was one of the biggest allies of the United States. So that's what Veteran Hoffman is referring to. So he's saying, that's true about pre-1979 Goldie. I personally can vouch for that. I'll be 61 this August. I was 14 in 1979. I remember our friends in Iran. Wow. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit jealous, veteran, because you've actually experienced that Iran that the vast majority of us who were born after the Islamic takeover are fighting to reclaim, right? The golden years, the golden days. Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm living vicariously through you right now. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and that memory, Veteran Hoffman. Like that, I really appreciate that. It means a lot, especially coming from Americans, because for the last 47 years, the Islamic regime has tried to tell the world that, we Iranians are your enemies. But we've never been the enemy. We've been held hostage by this Islamic terrorist group. And before social media and before internet and before YouTube, many of us weren't able to share the truth because we didn't have a voice. And it's only now, because of social media and internet, that we're able to communicate what's actually going on, what's really happening. And the Islamic regime, their tactics and their strategy for the first 20, 30 years relied on just controlling the narrative, controlling state media. But thank you. You know what? That really means a lot to me. Thank you so much for seeing through all that. Thank you so much for not being fooled by the propaganda of the Islamic regime. And yeah, that really, really means a lot coming from our American friends and viewers. So thank you so much, veteran, and thank you so much for your service to the country. Carl became a member. Welcome. And then we have Russ saying, Democrats think IRGC can compromise because they don't know what religious devotion means, both in Islam and in Christianity. Yeah, that's very true. Nolly missed you so much, Goldie June. Oh, thank you. I missed you too. I really did miss all of you guys. So then Tom for Life says, the return of Goldie. Yes, I'm back, guys. I'm back. Did you guys miss me? Oh my gosh. No, this is very, very, very kind of you, very thoughtful of all of you. So, no, I really appreciate all of your kind words, all of the super chats, all of your comments. I do have a few more things that I wanted to share with you since we were able to get through the questions and comments. And if you have any more, feel free to send them over. Happy to read them in a little bit. But I want to share something with you guys. So I want to go into FIFA a little bit. Okay, let me go back to my regular view. So I know for many people, they're wondering, like, why are Iranians not supporting the Islamic regime team? Well, that's because the team of the Islamic regime, right? Like the FIFA team, they don't actually support Iranians. They support the Islamic regime. And many of the football players are actually directly affiliated with or part of or work with the Islamic regime. Let me share this with you. I think this song is probably copyrighted. It's like some garbage jihadi song where it's like Salam Farmande, which basically is like, hello to my commander, which is like, like the Khamenei or whatever, right? Whichever one is alive. But so they're singing this song, right? I'm not going to play the audio, but like they're basically like, so these are the two football players and they're both singing like this jihadi Durka song in their car. Right? So, and then this is who they are. This is one of them and this is the other. Like they're literally singing Durka songs in their car. Like the Durka songs I play for you guys on Islamic Regime State TV? Yeah. These are the songs that they're playing in their cars. And so this video is going viral. It's basically kind of depicting how the FIFA Islamic regime players are part of the Islamic regime, and many of them were probably also involved in the murder of Iranians. So here's a viral video that I want to share with you guys. You know what? I feel like this is copyrighted, so I'm going to have to play it without the music. Sorry, guys. So the white, that's the Islamic regime team, okay? Look at this. And then at the bottom of the screen is like images of all the various Iranians who've been murdered by the regime, right? So This is what, like the team at FIFA right now, they're not Team Iran. They're Team Islamic Regime. And for us, when we see this team, this is what we see, right? So a lot of people might just see someone in like a football outfit, but this is what we see, right? And this is a very, very good depiction. Like this is actually this is why this video is going viral, because this gives non-Iranians an opportunity to visualize what we see when we see this football team, right? They're literally Team Jihad. So, and then these are all the young Iranians that they've murdered. So this is why we don't support the football team, because it's not Team Iran, it's Team Islamic Regime. So there you go. That's one thing I wanted to share. And there's also, however, Iranians are continuing. So this is what Iranians are doing outside of FIFA stadiums, wherever they see the Islamic regime match. So the protests and demonstrations have been continuing. Of course, all of them are incredibly peaceful, right? Because we're actual freedom fighters. We're not there to do violence or cause harm or vandalize or whatever the case might be. So let me just share this video. So this guy is wearing a flag of the Islamic regime because he doesn't really know the difference, okay? And keep in mind, a lot of these people are just like, they're paid. They're paid by the Islamic regime to go there and just hold the garbage Jihad Allahu Akbar flag, right?
Another supporter is receiving the right flag. And in the name of love, light, and humanity, let's see you in the circle. God bless you, okay? God bless you.
It's the only one allowed in the stadium.
No, they wouldn't come and check the.
No, I know that one.
The logo.
They
anyway.
wouldn't allow me in the stadium. With
okay.
So that's why that one was the only one allowed. But no, I
see. So even this guy, he's saying they wouldn't allow me in the stadium with the lion and sun flag.
No, they wouldn't come and check the.
No, I know that one.
The logo.
They
anyway.
wouldn't allow me in the stadium. With
okay.
So that's why that one was the only one allowed. But no, I support it.
Thank you. Thank you. Donald God. We love and appreciate your.
There you go. So there's that one. And then I also have I don't know if I should share this. Okay, let me see this one. I have to see if this is okay. Guys, I have some new footage. I don't know how much of this I can share. So there's a reason that the Islamic regime shut down the internet. It was to keep this sort of footage away from the world, because the Islamic regime was hoping that by shutting down the internet for almost 90 days, that the world would forget and move on, because that's how the Islamic regime has operated in the past. Every single time there's been an uprising, the Islamic regime has shut down the internet, they've waited it out, and then the world has moved on. So that was a strategy that they used this time. And This is why we had the longest shutdown of internet in history for any country anywhere, right? It was record breaking. Almost 90 days of a complete and total blackout where Iranians in occupied Iran couldn't speak out because the Islamic regime was hoping that the world would forget and move on. But, thanks to all of you supporting this channel and helping me spread the word. And of course, thanks to all the Iranians everywhere around the world who spoke up and made sure that no one forgot about Iran. The Islamic regime eventually had to give in and they turned on the internet. And this is some new footage from the massacre of January 8 and 9. I don't know how much of this I can show. We'll see how much we can get through. I might not be able to show the whole thing, but this is footage from when the Islamic regime shut down the internet and started shooting into crowds of unarmed Iranians. So let's watch a little bit. I'll see how much I can show. I might not be able to show the whole thing, but I'll make a post about it on X. So make sure that you're following me on X. So you can see, you can hear the gunshots are just shooting into the crowd, right? Look at that. So the Iranians are, running away, and you can see the police officers, police, right? They're literally just walking along and they're casually shooting into the crowd. No other country does this. They're literally as innocent unarmed Iranians are running away, they're just shooting into the crowd. So for anyone who's wondering, why is the number of murdered Iranians in 2 days alone over 40,000? This is why. This is why right here. Look at this.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Wow. I don't think I can share anymore because I don't want to get a YouTube violation. That I can't deal with that right now. Sorry, that always really gets me. That always it really, really gets me when yeah. I don't think we need to see anymore. I think that in and of itself pretty much shows what's going on. But on a totally different note, different but related note, I also wanted to share this with you. So this is just a small portion of cash and gold reportedly found in the home of a single Iraqi member of parliament. Imagine what would be found if the homes of senior Islamic Republic officials were searched the same way. This regime has looted Iran for decades. Hundreds of billions of dollars in national wealth have been stolen, hidden, and moved through corrupt networks, while ordinary Iranians are left to suffer. Guys, can I just say, as a former member of parliament myself, this is wild, because the amount of checks and balances and governing authorities and everything, it's wild. It's wild to me. Like, this is like a whole other level of corruption. And look, it's all US bills. Like, how the heck? Like, what in the Allahu Akbar jihad is going on here where this Iraqi member of parliament has just like stacks of like US dollars, US bills, stored away in his house? Again, like as a former member of parliament in Canada, like, this is insane. This is wild to me. Look at this. Like, look, it's just like, it's all these like Benjamin Franklins. Look at it. It's literally stacks and stacks of like $100 bills. Look at all this gold. This is what was found in the house of an Iraqi member of parliament. Imagine what you could find, or what we will find, not what you could, what we will find in the houses of senior Islamic regime officials. That's why many of them are trying to convert their money into cryptocurrency and send it out. It's also why Scott Bessent is going after them, right? Because a lot of people are focusing on Operation, Epic Fury or whatever the case might be. But a lot of people are forgetting about Operation Economic Fury. And Operation Economic Fury has never ended. In fact, Operation Economic Fury has been ramping up. And I will have a lot more to say about that in the coming days. But I want you to always remember and think about that. The war or conflict may have ended, but President Trump's excursion to occupied Iran certainly has not. In fact, they're deploying even more US military assets to the Persian Gulf. That doesn't really sound peaceful to me, does it? Apparently, they've now sent more assets to that area than they did for 2003. Does that seem like peace is at hand? Does that seem like peace is around the corner? There's one more thing that I want to share, because it's good old Marco Rubio. And everything that Marco Rubio says is exactly what I've been saying. Not for the last few months, but for the last several decades. So let's listen in to what Marco Rubio had to say just a few days ago.
You used to call them religious theocratic lunatics. Do you still believe that language applies to the leadership today?
Well, look, it's not that I believe it, it's the fact of the matter. I mean, the Iranian system is led by clerics, radical clerics. That's what it's always been led by, and that's what it continues to be led by. That said, we also have to manage the geopolitics of the situation. And then there's if they've changed their mindset, or if they've changed their approach to their relations with the United States and their neighbors, then we're going to give this thing a chance to work. Maybe this changed. I'm not saying it has. I'm saying the president wants to explore whether that's the case. And if it has, we're going to find out. But we're not going to find out because of what they say. We're going to find out because of what they do. We're going to judge them by their actions.
You used to call them religious
There you go. I know a lot of people misinterpreted what Marco Rubio was saying. Marco Rubio is being very clear, right? Like, let me translate from politician to English for you guys. Marco Rubio is basically saying, I don't trust them. I don't think they've changed. I don't think that we can have a deal with them or negotiate with them in any way. But, sure, let's explore the option so that diplomatically people can't call us warmongers. That's basically what he's saying, right? Because he never actually says that they're capable of change. He never actually says that the Islamic regime is capable of reform. All he says is if they've changed. But you can see from his expression, from his tone, from the way he's speaking, Marco Rubio knows full well that the Islamic regime is unchangeable. It's unreformable. He knows that the Islamic regime is never, ever going to want peace or agree to peace with the great Satan, United States of America. And that's why he makes it very clear that it's not about their words, it's about their actions. Now, I believe this was taken on the 26th. What's happened since the 26th? Well, there were boom booms. Severe, escalating boom booms every single night. Even last night, there were boom booms. So, Marco Rubio is making it very clear. Actions speak louder than words. And as we can see, this current ceasefire is probably the least ceasefire we've ever seen. But at the heart of it all, and I want to end with this final thought. Actually, let me go to some of your super chats before I end it off with my final thoughts, because I see there's a few more comments here. Thank you so much, guys. So we have a comment from Checkmate Stallion. Hoş bargashti, Goldie. Thank you so much. Hope you've been well. I have been. Thank you so much. Great to see you, Checkmate. Minor Dine says, I have really missed your being here to shine the light of truth on this tyranny. People need to see the things that are hard to watch. Thank you so much. I missed being here as well. It's really, really great to be back, and great to see you all. Thank you so much. And you're absolutely right. We need to continue shining the light, and that's what I plan on doing. And we're just getting started, guys. We're just getting started. So thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Catherine Water says, President Trump says he'll be sending food, wheat, corn, etc. to Iran. Do you think any of that will get to the Iranian people? No, absolutely not. None of it is going to get to the Iranian people. Anything that is sent, unless the Americans are hand delivering it to the Iranian people themselves, which I can't see that happening. While Iran is occupied by the Islamic regime, none of that is going to get to the Iranian people. That food, wheat, corn, etc., that will go to the supporters of the Islamic regime, which is about 5%, I would say 5% or less of the country. The rest is going to go to themselves, and of course, their terrorist proxy groups like Hezbollah, Hashd Shabi, Houthis, Hamas, the Fatimiyun, whatever is in Iraq, and whatever's in Pakistan. So yeah, none of that's going to go to the Iranian people. Anything that's sent, as long as the Islamic regime is in power, anything that's sent will never reach the Iranian people. It'll just go to help fund the Islamic regime. I could be wrong, but it hasn't happened in 47 years, so I don't anticipate it happening now. Willie says, good to have you back, Goldie. Javid Shah, thank you so much. Great to be back. Javid Shah as well. And God bless America, and I'm Israel Chai. Amir the Cricket says, peace is beyond the corner. Oh, haha. What a corny joke. I really like that. Super funny. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. So I'm going to end the live stream. It's been fantastic being here, catching up with you all, doing a little bit of a deep dive analysis into the last 6 months. And of course, what to expect in the upcoming days. We're just getting started. But I just wanted to thank you all for being here for Iran Revolution Live, because when I created Iran Revolution Live, the focus was always to be a voice for the Iranian people, and for these 2 hours to focus specifically on Iran and the Iranians. Because for 47 years, we have been silenced, and we haven't had a voice or a platform. And I've always made it my mission to try and do what I can to amplify the voices of Iranians, not just in the diaspora, but in occupied Iran. And I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. And I'm so grateful to all of you for tuning in, because you want to learn about Iran. You want to understand who Iranians are, what we think, what we want, who we support, who we don't. And, despite 47 years of propaganda by this Islamic regime to try and convince all of you that we hate you and we think you're the enemy, despite all of that, you've shown up. Many of you have shown up with an open mind and an open heart. And you've all seen the truth. And I'm so grateful to all of you, because that's what keeps me motivated to continue. And like I said, we're just getting started. And guys, I have so many special guests lined up who are going to be joining me and giving amazing analysis on Iran and what's happening. So make sure to like and subscribe. But at the end of the day, I just want to remind all of you that after the political analysis and after the geopolitics and after the Durkha videos and after the, messages or posts or whatever, putting all of that aside, we can never forget there is a mother who is crying over the grave of her murdered child. There's a child who's crying because their parents were orphaned. There's someone who's in jail being raped so hard that they have to have their uterus removed. There's someone else who's going to be hanged tomorrow because they dared to say that they want to live in a free and democratic society. So throughout all of this, the one thing I ask is that you never forget the humanitarian aspect, that you never forget the reason why Iranians are rising up. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It's such a pleasure, such an honor to be back. And I will see all of you later tonight for tonight's evening edition of The Goldie Show. As always, I'm Israel Chai. God bless America. Javid Shah and Payanda Iran. I'll see you guys soon.
غرق انقلاب است. کشور ما، تاریخ ما در سی دگر فرا گرفته، گویی اهورا مستا دوباره در نور خود مرا گرفته. اکنون سرودی سر میدهم باز فارغ از رنج و تشویش، ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. هن ای پدر، هن ای پسر، بر خیز و باماش و هنگام تا درد آن تجربه تلخ ما را نکشیده در خواب بگذار هر دم بغرند گرگ‌ها دم لباس میش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ای کارگر ای برزگر راحت کنون ادامه دارد در این زمان که پرتو یزدان از هر سو بر تو میبارد پس پیش به سوی آزادی از بحر خزر تا کیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش خلقا به پا بحر دفاع از استقلال و آزادی تا بشکنیم پشت ارتجاع تیریزی ویران آبادی تا زنده سازیم سنت‌های می از بر آیین و کیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش
با امید روزی که تمام این دلبشو و انقلاب تموم بشه و ما در روشنایی نور و سعادت مردم کشورمون غرق بشیم
نه خارجی نه بیگانه نه مستشارهای ویرانی نه چیر خاران نه کاسه لیسان فقط هم رزمان ایرانی آقا شرافت میهنی بسازی بهر فرزندان خویش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش مردان بیایید داخل صف ما اکنون که آغاز رویاست دشمنان بدانید ما زنده هستی بعد از ما هم ایران پابرجاست آن روح شیطان ما را فریب داد با صد شعار مردمیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش پرچم ما پرچم ایران غرق خون شهیدان روی شانه هامان هم میکنیمش در هر خیابان و میدان تا ماسک دلغکان را برداریم از روی تسبیح و ریش ایران غرق انقلاب است به پیش به پیش به پیش